What's up, guys? Welcome to Getting Stone, a Hearthstone experience. So, guys, if you look at the screen today, we're Legend. So, we hit Legend last night, and I just want to talk a little bit about the two decks that I played to get to Legend, and my experience playing the decks, and maybe some tips and pointers that will help you on your climb. I was actually pretty surprised to get Legend last night, but let me go into a little more detail. So, if you watch my stream, I was playing Tempo Mage. I hit 500 wins with Tempo Mage, and then I started playing Hunter, and I know that I was like at 145 wins or something when I started playing the class. So from rank 5 or so to Legend, I played roughly, 30, 35 Hunter games, right? But I also played Cthulhu Priest. Basically, I was rank 2 with Secret Mage. I started playing Hunter, no experience. I played one deck list, and I'll show you that deck list now. No experience. I was at rank 2, dropped all the way to rank 5. Okay, 5 0 stars. That's where I ended up. Okay, and I was playing 200 lists, but once I hit rank 5 0 stars, I just said, hey, you know what? Let me build the most versatile or the most consistent list that I can, and I'm gonna just play that and just go for the win rate and try to improve, right? So I played this list here, which is very similar to one of Nick Chipper's lists, and I want to talk about the cards a little bit so you can get the kind of gist of the play style. Basically, what my strategy was, and I think this is a typical mid-range hunter strategy, is from turns 1 through 4 or 1 through 5, you fight for board control. But at some point in the game, the curve of your cards is just really low, right? As you can see, we got 1 through 3 drops, but we don't have a lot of 4 and 5 drops. So from turns 4 to 5, if you don't really already have control of the board, you're gonna lose. Like the goal is you maintain board control from the first part of the game, and then you start going to the face, keeping the board clear, making value trades, but using hero power every turn. That was the key to winning a lot of games for me. With the list, the 2 alley cats were important. Anytime I was on the play, I hard mulligan for these. Most of the time, except versus Mage, and sometimes versus Druid. If I had a better 1-drop, I would go and take the Hungry Crab. Hungry Crab, I ran 2 of these. Against Paladin, I hard mulligan for them all the time, no matter what I had in hand. If I had an Alley Cat or Jeweled Macaw, I mulliganed them back because those cards are too weak. Even on the play, if I play those, my opponent drops a 1/3 Vilefin. I can't deal with it. He can trade out. There's no value to it. So grabbing Hungry Crab was just integral to that matchup. You straight up almost won. Anytime I grabbed Crab in my mulligan, I won. Versus Paladin, I won straight up. Because what happens is, whether I'm on the play or at a coin doesn't matter. Okay. Obviously, I'm not going to play him on an empty board on the play, right? But if my opponent drops a 1/3 Vilefin, eat it, because the only thing he can do after that is drop Rock Pool Hunter or whatever it is, the 2/3 guy, or the other 2/1 guy, Chum Scale guy, and your Crab is going to be able to kill those and still keep board presence. So your Crab is going to 2 for 1 or 3 for 1 your opponent. And the problem is, you can still build a board, and the Paladin never gets a chance to kind of maintain board presence. So your number one goal is to have board presence, and you're going to do it immediately. Super good in the matchup. Remember, he doesn't have removal till he gets True Silver Champion on turn 4. So it was just crazy. So having a Hungry Crab, if you expect Paladins, is important. and I ran 2 because they're beasts and they're just, they had a lot of synergy. It was easy synergy. Gave me a 1-drop and also allowed me like a free win against Paladin pretty much. Jeweled Macaw I ran 2 just to have a 6 1-drops. This card was actually pretty weak, even though it gives you value. The one time I really liked it was, I guess, versus Mage, because if I was baiting out a mirror entity, it's a perfect card for something like that. And it's a cheap activator for things like Nesting Rock or what happened to my screen? What's going on? Nesting Rock or Kill Command, things of that nature, right? So I did like that in that sense. Crackling Razor Maw, this card was fucking crazy. This card was so good, and it was one of the reasons why I was really excited about playing Hunter. Like I said, I've never played Hunter since beta, or well, I guess I must have played like 130 games at some point, right, in ranked, but I rarely touched a class, and Crackling Razor Maw is sick. You play 1/1 Alley Cat, you play Hungry Crab, you play Jewel Macaw. Crackling Razor Maw gives you the versatility to do whatever you want to do on the following turn, right? You build a 3/2. You can put a Divine Shield to help you kill, trade off a 1/1. You can give it Poisonous to get through a taunt later in the game. You can give it Death Rattle to have more board presence and you'll win that early game that you need. You can put it on a 4/4 taunt to give it Wind Fury and swing for lethal. Like, this card is fucking good. It's just really good. Direwolf Alpha, it was nice to have another 2-drop because the curve is low, and because I'm gonna have a lot of 1/1s or Unleash the Hounds or whatever. This gives you a good way to trade up. So this deck really plays a lot like Zoo in the early part of the game. Galaka Crawler, like how Hungry Crab was good versus Murloc Paladin, this card was very good versus Pirate Warrior, and it was very good versus Quest Rogue, and it was very good versus Aggro Druid. Because all those decks play the Patches core, and this card was good, especially versus Aggro Druid. 3/4 on turn 2 or turn 1 with the coin is strong, but it's not super strong. Like against Pirate Warrior, if they play 1/1 N'Zoth's Champion on the board, I wouldn't play Galaka Crawler on turn 2 typically, simply because I don't want to eat the 1/1, right? Because he'll still have a Patches on the board or the other 1/1, the N'Zoth's Pirate, and then he can equip a Fiery War Axe, and yeah, sure, my Crawler dies, eats 4 damage, but I lose board presence and I don't really gain much from it. Instead, what you want to eat are things like Naga Raider or whatever, the 5/4, or the Taunt, or the South Sea Captain, right? Like, those are the ones that you want to get rid of. And this card was great in that, and it's also a beast, so that was killer. Kindly Grandmother, I'm hard mulligan for this in a lot of the other matchups, especially when I had the coin, because with the coin you kind of want 2/2-drops, but you want to go turn 1 2-drop, turn 2 2-drop, and this is just a very sticky minion. And that was nice. And the nice thing about it is, if they don't deal with it on the turn it comes down, you have a lot of ways to buff its power the following turn, whether it be Houndmaster or the Crackling Razor Maw or Direwolf Alpha. A lot of things with that. Scavenging Hyena, typically this was my endgame card. Kind of used it in conjunction with stuff like Unleash the Hounds. In some instances, if I already had the board and I had 2 of these in my hand, I would play them out, because like on an empty board, I would play both a double Scavenging Hyena, because I knew that on the following turn, if it was like turn 4, they'd probably only have 1 removal for one of them, and it would end up buffing the other, and that would put a lot of pressure on them, because I'd be able to cheat some mechanics to really buff this up and let this get out of control. And Scavenging Hyena was a very crazy card. Animal Companion is just a 3-drop, kind of clears the curve, and depending on what you get from it, it's I was never disappointed to see either three of the options. You know, the the Leok, the 2/4, like really boosted the power of my board. The 4/4 with taunt was nice. And sometimes the charge was good too, even though I thought the charge was probably the weakest of the options, right? Eagle Horn Bow is just, a nice little tempo play to help you fight for board control. Kill Command, just sometimes you need reach. I use this pretty liberally, especially in matchups where taunts are on the board and I wanted to maintain board control. I would just hit the taunt with it and make the smallest trade. I played one Rat Pack. The reason being I only had one and I didn't want to craft the second one simply because I didn't know how powerful the card was. But it is a strong card. You buff this with Crackling Razor Maw, or you buff it with a Houndmaster, and you get a lot of value. Unleash the Hound is pretty self-explanatory. In the times where you lose board control, or where you need just a couple 1/1 damage to gain board control, this card is it. I could see people cutting one of these. I didn't find it that important, but it did work out well for me. I played one Vicious Fledgling, and I was never disappointed to have it. It was a must-answer threat, and if they left it on the board, they died. I would give it Stealth, I would give it Wind Fury, I would give it +3 attack, I would give it health to avoid most removal from some decks outside from Mage. And the card was good. If you hit this with the Houndmaster, you hit this with what the fuck is that card? Crackling Razor Maw. Like, your opponent is fucked, man. So I did play one. I don't know if 2 is necessary. I don't even know if 1's necessary, but I was always happy to see this card as a 3-drop. Houndmaster, which is just a nice top close to the end of your curve, and boost your early game creatures, which you obviously need to do. So Houndmaster is a very important part of the deck. And Nesting Rock, which was the end of my curve. This was Nick Chipper played Bittertide Hydra here, and I tried Bittertide Hydra when I went from rank 2 to 5. But the thing was, I really did face a lot of decks that wanted to fight for the board, and Bittertide Hydra didn't do that well for me. You know what I mean? Like, often I was finding myself on turn 5, like, that'd be the turn, like, where I need one more turn to get board control. And what would happen is, like, I drop Bittertide Hydra, and then they'd efficiently remove it with like 2 or 3 creatures and a spell. And I say efficiently because they're trading up into it, and I'm taking 12 damage or 9 damage, and it was too much damage. I was finding that I was giving them just enough room to put me out, and I'm sure that card does work well. Maybe I wasn't aggressive enough. I don't know, but for me, I felt Nesting Rock was just a better card because I found myself having a board coming into turn 5. It was just a competitive board on both sides. No one really had a good advantage, and Nesting Rock gave me a huge advantage in the matches where I wanted it, like Pirate Warrior, Aggro Druid, those two especially. Like, turn 5, my opponent's playing Living Mana, just saying fuck my board or whatever, so this allowed me to drop this, by itself, or I could save Alley Cat and drop this on turn 6 with the Alley Cat, and this, this shit eats up boards, man. It's 4/7. It's fucking good. Like, he has to trade in 4 Living Mana tokens into this unless he buffs them, and he still has to trade 3. So, this card was great in that matchup, and it was a necessary inclusion versus Pirate Warrior just because, at some point at turn 5 they're trying to race you, and this at least gave me that kind of breathing room to get up a big taunt, and it was big. I did very well with the deck. Like I said, I fell to rank 5, and then 2 days ago I played on my couch on my iPad for an hour and a half, and I went from rank 5 to rank 2, 1 star, and then I lost the game. So I lost 1 game from rank 5 to rank 2, and then so I ended up at rank 2, 0 stars, and then last night I went 15-3 to get legend, and my 3 losses, one of them was to J Druid, Blister Guy. Blister Guy's an awesome player. You should follow him. He makes great infographics about the game. I lost to him once, and I lost to a Pirate Warrior twice, which we queued up 4 times, like back to back to back to back. Yeah, and I went 15-3, and I hit legend last night. So this was the deck that I played for most of the run. I played this straight from rank 2 to legend. And next I'll talk to you about the other deck that I played, which was really fun. And only reason why I didn't play it as much was because I was already at, 500 wins with Priest. But we'll talk about that in the next video. So if you have questions about this video or my deck or mulligans or whatever, just let me know.